Good afternoon, Superkickin with Steven fans. So happy to be here with you. Ready to talk up Raw, Smackdown, NXT, and of course AEW's Blood and Guts. Featured some matches and then went into the Blood and Guts match as it is. So let's bring on my favorite guest, as always, Greg, right here with me. How you doing today, Greg?
Hey, I'm good, Steven. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. I'm rocking my Sami Zayn t-shirt there. How's that
Nice.
looking? I haven't done the
Sweet.
dance yet, but we'll get on it. So,
Hey, anytime
yeah,
Stevie's dancing, I'm down for it, bro.
of course. Interesting week in wrestling. We had some ups and some downs and some in between. So, we're going to start with Raw, kind of get you started. We're going to go at the back end first. So, we'll start with the main event because that's kind of the big story there where Bobby Lashley defeated Braun Strowman being via pinfall, but Drew McIntyre took them all out. So, I'm going to assume Braun will get the upper hand here next week to just kind of, even the sides out. What'd you think, Greg, about that main event? And, we've kind of talked about these three guys going at it. I think it's fine because they're all three important to the title scene. But what'd you think about that main event match going into it?
Yeah, it's pretty much what they do. Give everybody a win going in and make it look like they're all equal to each other. Lashley's still the favorite if you had to pick one, I think. But yeah, I want to put him as much on an even playing ground as possible. I still think it's Lashley's, and his reign is going to continue. But typical build up, nothing too exciting in my book.
Pretty much, we probably put it Lashley, McIntyre, Strowman. I would assume if we're going to put it in order of, and it's probably a pretty big gap right now. I think between Lashley and McIntyre. I mean, I want McIntyre to get it back, but if SummerSlam's going to be live and in person, I would like to maybe McIntyre to get it back then, just to kind of let him have that moment. I mean, he's dying for it. And he's earned it. I mean, why not give him that feel good moment? I mean, it won't be the longest run for Lashley, but if they build him up as beating, Braun and Drew in a match, and then who knows what they do during the summer, I mean, it could still be something big, even if it's a short-term title reign. Just because I don't know if I don't feel like Lashley's real. I think they're just kind of going by the seat of their pants with Lashley's title reign right now. So who knows? Maybe, by SummerSlam, he could lose it. But I'll be interested to see, SummerSlam's still a few months away. But from the rumblings, from people saying that they want to do a crowd, they want to do it, outdoors probably. But I'm really going to be interested to see where SummerSlam takes place. Some other things happened on Raw. We did have Omos and AJ Styles defeat the New Day by pinfall. I don't know who's in line next. I mean, we just keep talking about this. And I mean, I guess you could throw the Viking Raiders just because, they're kind of coming right now. So if they do Viking Raiders against Omos and AJ Styles, I'm okay with it. But I feel like you probably should have the Viking Raiders beat them because they're a more legit tag team. But if you have Omos and AJ just kind of keep winning, that could almost build them legitimate as well. So what do you think, Greg, about the Raw Tag Team Championship match we got? And is there anybody that you want to see go against AJ and Omos right now?
Nobody pops in the head right up off the bat. I guess Viking Raiders would make sense as, at least the first, aside from New Day, the first good defense of the titles. It's about Omos right now because we know how good AJ is. It's about building up Omos, and he's got to show us something. He's showing us a little bit. We've seen maybe hopefully just like a tenth of what he can do, and it's all about building him up, getting some favor with him, and making him and AJ look more legit as a tag team. Because right now he just comes in and stomps somebody down for 2 minutes and to get the match is over. So I'm gonna need to see something more substance to buy into him and AJ's tag team. Because eventually the giant thing, runs its course and they lose. So, but you want to put challenges from him, expose more of his skill set to make him more legitimate. So it's all about feeding them challengers right now. So they off to a good start with the New Day on the credibility front. And so you want to keep giving them teams that are going to build up that credibility.
And I think with Omos, I mean, how many times can we keep doing the giant kills people, but doesn't get anything out of it? Like Braun, he finally won a title, but it was way too late and it didn't mean anything. So if you're going to do this, yes, they give him a title, but at the same time, after you break up the tag team, what is he going to do after that? So I understand what you're saying. And like we said, I mean, you got to have a little bit of mic work, because like we said, what is he other than, I think he said a few words like after AJ, it's like, we got to give him something. So I totally am in agreement with you. Like right now it's working for what he is, but is it going to be long-term? And right now we're probably going to say no, because you just look at, like we said, the history of big men, granted, Andre the Giant is so above everyone else. I think Big Show approached that territory because the Big Show could do stuff. And the Big Show showed us later on, he could do it. And I think Braun could do stuff in the ring if they really let him. But unfortunately, they don't have that. So what do we got in our chat? I want to see the Rock and Roll Express versus the Midnight Express. All right. Yes, we do know who they are. That is way, way, way going back. But thank you for that, Matt Gibson, for the way back old school. I mean, that's about as old school as you could get, at least for our generation. But thank you for the lovely comment that you would love to see the Rock and Roll Express versus the Midnight Express. We are having some awesome contributors to our chat lately. They're coming out of the woodwork. Last week's was very interesting. And this week is, NWA. Yep, that's right. But we're kind of in today's era. So let's stick to today's era. If we ever do a offshoot podcast about the history and legacy of wrestling, we got it squared away. I want to talk about some women. We have a woman coming back, Greg. Eva Marie. Now, of course, the internet was all buzz like, so we got rid of blah, 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 blah for her. Eva. I think Eva Marie was returning no matter what. I think it was just happenstance that they did release some women. Some people said, well, they let go of Mickey, the Iconic, so they could pay Eva. I don't believe that. I think it was just, I think they had the wood. I think they had they were going to return Eva Marie. She's been taking pictures with Parker Bordeaux, who looks like a Brock Lesnar offshoot for NXT. So she's obviously in the, she's in the scenes. And now, she is coming back. And I guess her big phrase will be, do I have your attention now? Have at it, Greg, because I got nothing on Eva Marie.
Yeah, it's just weird timing for sure. And based on WWE, how petty they can be, either on purpose or not on purpose. A story could be drawn either way, and it both ways would be believable. When I saw Eva Marie, I was like, "Oh no, not again." She was a bigger hot mess than Lana, and so like I said last week, Lana had 2 left feet before she got injured, and now she came back and she's on a tag team with Naomi, and actually she's learned how to wrestle, or that's what they want us to believe. Are they going to do the same thing with Eva Marie? She all of a sudden been off TV for a few years. Now she has some talent. I'm doubtful about that because she was nothing before she left, and nothing but a pretty face. And that's all it's looking like right now. Do we have your attention? No, you're the same person as you was when you left. So I am not too excited. I'm more excited about Taya down there at NXT, or Frankie Monet, I should say, down at NXT than I am about seeing Eva Marie. So I think all of us think along the same lines as Eva Marie goes. We don't want to see her in the ring, and Bayley wanted to see her remake a old White Snake gimmick with laying on the car. So,
and I feel like this is going to be what the Emma gimmick should have been. I feel like that's what they're going to turn it into, or what Carmella was. I mean, pretty much what Carmella was, where Carmella was like, supposed to be untouchable and all this. So, yes, thank you, Matt, for the awesome comment that I do not want to say out loud right now, but it is a definitely worthy. I don't know if Greg, if you could get into the comment section on your end. I think if you click on comments on the top, you could see Mr. Matt Gibson's latest comment to us that I do not want to share with the world, but I'm pretty sure, yes, that probably is true.
NSFW, huh?
Yeah. Or who knows what Andrade smells like. I'll just say that. How about that? So, anyways, yes. Charlotte. Well, speaking of Charlotte Flair and her booty, she defeated Dana Brooke, and she got inserted into the women's title picture. So we're going to have a triple. Yeah, I love Greg with the eye roll there because we just have the Raw men's being a triple threat. We had Universal title triple threat. Now we're getting the Raw women's triple threat with Daddy Duval, as I want to call her, because now she has a new shirt out. So Sonya has a new shirt that it actually looks pretty good. I'm a merch guy, so I like to see what merch they come out with. It's got her little, her little devil looking signature. It almost looks like a shirt type deal. So it's different, but obviously we're seeing the writing on the wall. Adam Pearce, Sonya Deville are going to come to a head, and now Charlotte is going to use Sonya Deville for her power. But Greg, I know you probably have feelings on this match. Oh, sorry, we'll just go to the adding Charlotte to the triple threat because it wasn't really a match. Dana Brooke, I don't think Dana looked that good. That's somebody who needs to wrestle, honestly. I feel like Dana's got the look, obviously. Her and Mandy Rose both have the look, but, we're just so start and go with them or stop and go with them. It just never goes. So, Greg, give us your thoughts on Charlotte Flair being added to the women's title match. Do you believe that is booty for Charlotte to be added to it?
That is so booty. It's so booty that I'm sure the New Day is endorsing it right now.
Yes.
It's horrible the way they laid it out and the way she just easy peasy got written into it. That was with Sonya taking on the new heel authority figure angle, and Adam is still not grabbing his stones and saying no to it. Wants to keep everybody from going to Sonya and say, "Put me in the match," because apparently that's how easy it is, and it's just discrediting the work of everybody else who legitimately got into the match. I'm not a fan of multi-person matches anyway, in most cases, aside from the Money in the Banks or the matches that call for it, Survivor Series, where they have a purpose. But just do a multi-person match just to have one makes no sense. It's going away from what we watch it for, 101 with a prize on the line, and we want to see the best of those two. We don't want to see somebody just getting put in just because of their name or because they're intimidating a ref, or the whole storyline about trying to get getting there into it is just lame. There's so many different ways they could have done it and made it better, but it's typical, WWE not working very hard to, get us to buy in emotionally, unless it's to make us all hate it before it happens. So,
and I'm thinking AEW's done a great job with their title matches. We haven't seen any triple threat, 4-way, like the ladder matches and that type of deal, but mostly like it's been one-on-one, main matches. And I think if we didn't have the Raw men's championship on the line in a triple threat, you could buy it because then that would be one-on-one. But now it's like both the big titles are triple threat. And that is a little bit lazy booking and it is Charlotte, so it makes sense, especially because she is manipulating pretty much Sonya Deville for her power. But like you said, it's a little bit lazy, I think. We don't need it. The secondary titles I'm okay with because I like seeing multiple people. Like the IC title right now, it makes sense. Big E, Kevin Owens, Apollo Crews, Sami Zayn have all made themselves known. But it's Charlotte, Charlotte's forced. I hope Charlotte needs to pin, honestly, but she probably won't. I don't know how they'll write that. That's the thing. Like, how are you going to write it off? Because you probably want Charlotte or Rhea Ripley one-on-one down the road. So maybe you do have Charlotte out of the picture as far as the pinfall. But so it is what it is. Now we also have a new Raw signee in Monsoor, who is currently technically undefeated, even though he did lose. He was either at Crown Jewel or he was in the Greatest Royal Rumble. He was in something, but he wasn't pinned yet. But he did lose by DQ. So he's 49-1 or whatever now. And we had Humberto Carrillo involved with this. Sheamus, obviously. It does, we talked about this last week. It is going to be probably Sheamus and Humberto. It's a decent introduction to Monsoor, but it's just a weird way to write off his undefeated streak. It wasn't even built up because it was almost under the radar. It was, on 205 Live. I think NXT he had a few matches. So have you seen anything of Monsoor before this, Greg, or did you even know he was undefeated at this moment?
Yeah, I didn't even know about his undefeated streak. I'd seen his couple matches in NXT and the Crown Jewel match. I think 2 years in a row when he did the Saudi Arabia. One was the Greatest Royal Rumble and the other was what happened the year after it. So the matches I'd seen, he hadn't lost. But anything about a 49 match win streak or however it was. And it's a good entry point for him. I wasn't overly impressed with him from seeing him earlier. Remember those Saudi Arabia shows were a couple of years ago, so we've had time to forget about him. And now, in with Sheamus, by the way, I'm loving the way he's doing the open challenge idea, where title's not on the line, but you can still come get these whoopings. I'm still digging that aspect of it. And you get a opponent more organically from guys coming out and getting their revenge or whatever. And the 3-person carousel they built right now with him and Humberto and Mansoor could be really interesting, especially if Humberto ends up winning and they all have a series of matches. So I'm curious to see where to go with it, because I'm interested in seeing, a new group of matches. No more Matt Riddle, no more of the guys that Sheamus has been beaten up on or getting beat up by over the last number of months. He's a bunch of fresh matches, and then I'm curious to see how these three work together. So at least be something new and different.
And I think, like you said, whenever somebody does beat Sheamus, it'll mean that much more if he keeps kind of screwing them over, and hopefully and organically. I think that's the biggest thing, It feels like the Carrillo one is kind of organic. Like we're starting to kind of buy into him stepping up to Sheamus and possibly taking that title off. It doesn't feel as forced. Riddle felt a little forced because we saw so much of him. But we haven't seen Carrillo, in a little bit. And like you brought up whatever week, he's actually looks much better. He had a little pudge. Mm-hmm. He was very plain looking, almost like a creative wrestler in WWE 2K21. Like you're just throwing on, you're throwing on tights. You're not giving him any foot characteristic. But now, he's grown out the beard or the mustache and goatee a little bit. He does look pretty jacked. He does have some definition now. So And Mansoor, sorry, I keep saying him on. Mansoor, he's got a good look about him. But I don't know why you can't throw Ali in there and Ricochet, who people are bringing up now. They're throwing a pretty good feud on main event, which is funny to think because it's main event and we're probably not watching it. But they got some good video packages happening for that. So it's like, maybe have that thrown in there. Because like you said, you want fresh matches, especially for somebody like Sheamus, who's, 15 years, 20, almost 16. It feels like forever on TV. Now it's time for him to kind of go the Orton route, put over guys, get some wins here and there. But he's in, I would think he's in over mode now, putting guys over. So Damian Priest defeated John Morrison via pinfall. I'm curious if we do get the Miz and Miz and Damian Priest at Backlash. I feel like we might just hold that off and just wait till Raw. Which one would you rather see it at Backlash, Greg, or do you think it will wait off till Raw, like a Raw after, or in the coming weeks?
Yeah, there's no point in stretching it out until Backlash. We go ahead and give it its right off, and it's a maybe set up a surprise appointment for Priest, give him something bigger. But there's no point in drawing out that storyline with The Miz because we've been watching it since WrestleMania. It's been a month and a half almost, so we can go ahead and put a bow on it and move to the next thing.
And we did see that Royal Rumble because Damian Priest eliminated both The Miz and John Morrison. So it's kind of been brewing since Royal Rumble. So yeah, it's probably due. I mean, if they go at Backlash, Priest has to pick up the win and then move on. And I think maybe get involved in that U.S. title picture because I've kind of called for him to maybe be that next guy in line. So Lucha House Party defeated Cedric Alexander, Shelton Benjamin and Shelton and Cedric are now officially done, supposedly. We'll see. We know how these things go, but I guess they won't be going to main event. Maybe we might actually get Cedric Alexander a little push as a heel, which we haven't seen before. So, Greg, are we good with the breakup of Shelton and Cedric? Hopefully for bigger things for Cedric. I think Shelton is in that, Sheamus mode where he might pick up some wins. He might get lucky here and there. But this is all about Cedric Alexander, honestly.
Yeah, it absolutely is. Cedric's still on the rise, and there's still so much for him that we haven't seen. And Shelton's been there, done that, has the championships and accolades to prove it, and he has nothing left to prove to anybody. But so it's time to break them off and let Shelton do his thing, or Cedric do his thing, and make himself into a bankable talent, because right now he is it. So we'll get the typical series of matches between them to make the breakup official, just based off what we saw at the end of the segment with him or Cedric blowing off Shelton and then Shelton's reaction. So we'll get a match or two just to finish it off. But we're finally done with those two as a tag team. So they've evaded the enhancement area territory. They'll have a couple matches against each other, and then we can see Cedric go and maybe have some good matches with Mansoor or Ricochet or somebody else who's is young and equally as talented.
And maybe we could do the whole loser leaves Raw type deal so it can completely get them away from each other. Or just Shelton shows up on Smackdown at some point, because we could do that because it's WWE. But I would like to see them completely away from each other. I mean, the tag team never got going as much as it should have. I thought they had promise there, and then they broke it up so quickly. And not quickly, but they broke it up sooner rather than they should have. So hopefully they do let Cedric Alexander, because I think that guy's got a lot of talent, obviously. He can talk on the mic. He's earned that. And that, he's just got to show it. Just give him the ball, like they always say, and run with it. But We'll see what happens with that. Angel Garza defeated Drew Gulak, and we'll just talk about the end because he took a rose, stuck it inside his pants, and then punted the hell out of that rose. And I'm laughing about it because I'm a fart joke guy, so like people are probably complaining, but I laughed at it because it just looks so ridiculous. But if Angel Garza starts doing that, I'm probably going to enjoy it every freaking time because it's just something so it's silly, but it almost makes sense because that's what he's like, well, I'm going to make you smell like a rose. So, I mean, why not be literal about it? Any thoughts on this, Greg?
Well, I didn't think they would take it as literally as that, but I was amused by it too, seeing how it all unfolded. So points for creativity on that one because I saw the the way he played it was perfect. The rose putting up by his nose and running the lines again and then sticking it down his trunks. Like, whoa, okay, so he's literally going to go all the way and giving the Randy Orton punt to the buttocks, and yeah, that was got a huge amount of enjoyment out of that. That was funny. And very sophomore, but every now and then it's good.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, I feel like Drew Gulak is not above himself. Like, I would love for him to show up next week and like rubbing his butt the whole time, or like walking very gingerly. He seems like the type of guy that would do it because he's kind of earned his status where he is. But I would love for him next week to show up and be just kind of playing it off as like, oh man, that really hurt and all that. So Randy Orton and Riddle defeated Elias and Jackson Riker. They're building them up. We're just going to move on past that because they're probably going to be in the tag team title picture before we know it. I want to talk about Alexa Bliss because I don't know if you noticed, Greg, but Lily was in the back scene of Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville in some backstage segment. Like, I saw her and then I had to pause it and I was like, oh, there's Lily. And Alexa Bliss made a good point of saying, I love the color red, which is Raw colors, but also Sonya Deville had red on. So I don't know what that means, but I'm highly intrigued with it. So what about yourself? Are we kind of feeling Alexa Bliss now that she's kind of starting to open herself where she wants to go? Are you still like, this is just a creepy doll with a creepy girl?
Yeah, I'm still interested in seeing where it goes. I'm all about the creepy dolls. I love Annabelle and the movies, and I'm about that type of thing. So I want to see where it goes. She's going to become like the female Fiend now. And speaking of which, where is the Fiend? Where is Bray Wyatt? What do you do with them? So there's layers to it that still need to be unraveled. And I didn't see the part about Lily being in the background. So you had a better eye on that than I did.
And now you have to start watching.
Yeah, I picked up the part about the favorite color being red. And so I was trying to think, okay, what's that mean? Who wears red? And then I thought about Eva Marie, and they're like, that would be funny.
Oh yeah, she's got the reddish hair.
Yeah, Eva Marie gets sacrificed to Lily. That would be great. I would cheer for that. But that may make her more of a favorite than a heel. But so I'm watching to see what happens with it because I am definitely interested in seeing how this unfolds.
And like I said, now people will watch to see because it was like the Fiend, the Buzzard would show up in back scenes. Mm-hmm. I think the Vince McMahon dog showed up in one back scene, and then the Fiend would attack that person. So it's kind of cool to see how Lily and what will she get to take out if she does take out Sonya. What will that do? Will Alexa try to be a power figure? I mean, I'm sure Alexa could pull it off. So it's going to be – I'm intrigued by it because especially like I said, I mean, you just had to really look, but Lily was right there in the background, just almost like a head like that. I mean, you really had to look for it. So now we'll all have to watch as Raw goes. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defeated Lana and Naomi. That's all I want to say about that because Reggie was involved. So we're just going to move on to Throwback Smackdown. No, not taking your words out of your mouth, Greg, but I can tell by your look that you're okay if we just skip past that.
Yeah.
So here, I'm going to get on a little soapbox for a second. What have we got there? Okay, I'll show you guys do know about massive value between 80s and 90s. There we go. Thank you, Matt, for that comment. I have a little soapbox about throwback SmackDown. We had Pat McAfee dressed up as Vince McMahon, 80s era-ish, maybe early 90s. We had Michael Cole dressed up as like late 90s Michael Cole. We had the microphone almost like late 80s. I felt like nothing screamed retro SmackDown. How did you feel about that, Greg?
Another lame concept. So I'm in the same mindset as you are, because like, okay, what's the point of this? Because everything else was basically the same, except for showing clips of old matches. So I don't know, the whole thing was pointless. Doesn't add anything to the show.
Now the 10-person tag, the little promo they did before that, I love because they gave every person a little that made me think of retro stuff where they gave every person a chance to talk. It wasn't like one person talking; it kind of involved everybody. I kind of marked out for that. I thought that was kind of cool. But like Bayley's promo featuring Molly Holly, Alundra Blaze, who's like early 90s, that I never think of her. I don't really think of her as WWF that much anymore. You know what I mean? Like her WCW run and all that, which wasn't much anyways. But Trish and Lita, I think of Raw. I don't even think of them as SmackDown. So it was a very interesting mixture of, let's just throw everything out there retro-wise. I'm hearing Fox had a push for throwback things, so that's why SmackDown did the throwback stuff that week. But I didn't catch on to that. So I do think the big story, though, was Cesaro winning. He got a title shot, his first ever Universal title shot. He'll get at WrestleMania Backlash, which we kind of brought up that now's probably the time to pull the trigger. Even in the losing effort, he can still look strong, and it might be better if he does, in fact, win the title at some point, or if he could get Money in the Bank and cash in and, kind of get the title. So at first I was kind of mixed about it, but now I'm like, you know what? The iron's right there for Cesaro. I don't know if he's going to be any hotter, so you might as well pull the trigger on it. And beating Seth Rollins is big. Teddy Long announcing that he's going to get that title. Now the other sign is, so we'll go there first. We'll start there first, and then we'll go the Uso Roman Reigns drama because we're kind of revisiting that. So, Greg, I'm guessing you're okay with Cesaro getting his first title shot at WrestleMania Backlash.
Absolutely. It's going to be a great match. And Cesaro's been due. He's been looking great over the last number of months. People are, are supporting him. The Daniel Bryan angle helped with that a lot. And like I say, he's no hotter than he is right now. And so I'm looking forward to a great match with those two. And, if we can keep Teddy Long as a more long-running character, I'd be all about that too. Let him GM and book people against The Undertaker every week. But I'm excited to see how this match is going to play out. It's still too early to give him the win, I think. But I like your idea of, he takes his early L and then works his way back to a contendership. And, later in the year when we have or back to live audiences every week and, that groundswell of support, for live fans makes it even better. So it would be a good long-term story arc to carry out and, pay it off maybe around the end of the year, right before the new season starting with the Royal Rumble. Mm-hmm. So I like that idea of doing it that way.
And we also keep forgetting the Edge factor. I feel like Edge is going to find himself back into this. And who knows, maybe he could screw that match up. And then you could do – now, granted, it's almost revisiting the Daniel Bryan stuff, but if Edge lays down for Cesaro, that could build Cesaro up as well, because that could have Cesaro go over Edge, which would be huge. So I feel like Edge is the guy that we still haven't seen, which was surprising because Edge is one of the. Now, when I think of SmackDown, how do you not think of Edge? Like we always revisit that SmackDown 6, the Kurt Angle, Edge, Undertaker, unfortunately Chris Benoit, but Eddie Guerrero and Rey Mysterio, you know, that era. And I also love the 2016 version that was like Ambrose, Cena, Bray, AJ, that, you know, I think Dolph was there, and that, you know, and then the women that we had Becky Lynch, Natty, Carmella, the Bella Twins. I mean, that era was so strong. Like when the brand splits first happened, that felt like what SmackDown could have been. But that's another soapbox for another day. And we also saw Roman and Seth like backstage in a screenshot, you know, backstage segment. Some people are saying go for that at SummerSlam. I still think you maybe hold that off till WrestleMania. I think you really keep them on divergent paths, but almost parallel to each other, if that makes sense. Like we see maybe little interactions, but we don't see them cross until I think if you play it right, you could play that out to WrestleMania. Now, then again, I almost want Cesaro's moment to be at Mania because it's Cesaro. But what about the Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns stuff? Is there anything there? And then we'll get into the Uso drama because that's its own story as well. So, Greg, tell us your thoughts on Seth Rollins and Roman backstage, and then where do you think they should go?
Yeah, I've been keeping an eye on it just to see how closely they cross paths, and you know, it probably happened this week with the tie-in with the championship match, and then the backstage segment. Watch how they talk to each other, and you know, you can see it itself. Seth sees himself as Roman's equal, and I'm sure by now that Roman is thinking, "I'm above you, I'm above everybody else," and it's going to come to a head, but not for a while. The little veil threat from Rollins, you take care of your family or I will. You know, they planted, that's the first breadcrumb right there. And, you know, I think down the line, another few months, that's going to be revisited in some way, shape, or form. And it's going to lead to Seth and Roman coming to a head. And it could be a good program that goes right into WrestleMania. But do they put Rollins as the babyface because he's better as a heel? And that I should be more interested in seeing this Seth against this Roman than, you know, seeing Seth turn and, you know, go at him that way. It's unconventional, but, you know, at least give us something that's a little more original and makes more sense.
That's what I was thinking. Like Seth being the heel and Roman being the heel, it would be interesting to see where the crowd would go. Like, do you just let it go? You know, you don't turn Seth technically. You just let the crowd kind of decide. Like, we're getting, you know, it'd almost be that mixed crowd. I could see, you know, the crowd going in favor of Roman. They could go in favor of Seth, and maybe just let it go. You know, and like they always say, the crowd sometimes is going to do what they're going to do. So maybe you just don't turn to either, you know, because like we said, Roman probably needs to stay heel through at least WrestleMania next year. I mean, that probably needs to happen. And then Seth, now his run, that face run, whatever it was, leading into the Royal Rumble win, that was my favorite version of Seth. And now this heel stuff is good too. I mean, obviously he could pull. I think he showed me he could do both sides. But that 2018, I think it was, leading into 2019, that was some of his best work in the ring and working as a face. But, you know, this heel stuff works too because he's just so, you know, we kind of know when he's outside the ring, he seems like a big heel anyway. So it's like, it kind of works. But, and then, of course, we'll get to the Uso drama. We're kind of revisiting now that Jimmy's involved. I guess I like that Jimmy just didn't give up and be like, okay, I'm gonna, he did help out at the end, but then Cesaro took care of all three. So I don't know where Jimmy goes. Does Jimmy pull Jay out of this funk and then they do be a tag team? Do they win the belts thanks to Roman's help? There's like different avenues you could go. So, Greg, what do you think about Jimmy being involved with this whole Uso drama?
Not like it. The fact that he came up and right off the bat and going, I'm not going to be a clone of my brother, and you're not going to talk to me like you're going to talk to him. Showing some stones and standing up to the tribal chief. It's throwing an extra, some more meat on the bone with the Roman Reigns storyline, and now we have Jimmy on one end, Roman on the other, and Jay in the middle. And so above all the stuff that's going on with Roman and his championship picture, now you have this other side drama going on. And where's the right-hand man going to go? Is he going to stick with Roman, or he's going to go to his brother? And it's, classic storytelling. So I think it's going to play out for another few weeks. Because Jimmy got involved at the end. That was to save his brother. It wasn't to help Roman. So next week's show is going to be about that, and then maybe another week or two go by before Jay makes a choice. It's going to come down to Jay making a choice, and it laid another great breadcrumb with them two chasing the tag team titles, which I would be all about because they are great as tag team champions, as giving legitimacy back to the division, and they would easily be the best tag team on the show right now. So I'm rooting for Jimmy to pull Jay out, and then him joining in and making, an arranged faction. But it can go either way. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out over the next few weeks.
Mm-hmm. Carmella defeated Ruby Riott, so Ruby's back on TV, but she takes another L. Carmella is Carmella. I don't really have much to say here, but I do want to talk about this Bayley promo. She, called out some former champions. I would still love Bayley to do some, Legends type run, like going against Trish or Lita, or, going against Molly Holly now that we kind of know she's back in the fold. Something like that. I think that'd be really fun for a summer program for Bayley to do. And then maybe SummerSlam, she's back in the title picture after this whole stuff with Bianca. And what I really loved was she was stepping on the hair of Bianca. I was like, oh, man, she's going to cut that ponytail off. Now, I know that, what you could do is maybe the tail end of it. Maybe she could cut off the whip part, and then you could still – because that obviously is Bianca's calling card. So, or maybe they could do a hair versus hair match. Maybe Bayley will do the Molly Holly route and go, shaved hair look for a little bit. Her hair was looking pretty scraggly there. Bayley, some people said she might have touched a few too many plugs beforehand, but maybe she's ready to kind of do something different. But I'm looking forward to Bianca Belair and Bayley. And then, like I said, I'm interested to see what kind of summer program we could do for Bayley. Maybe like the Heath Slater run, where he win against legends. Now he took the L on all those legends, so I would love to see Bayley just beat all those legends that she could. But I think it'd be something fun for Bayley to do, and I think she could pull it off. What do you think about the promo, Greg? And where would you like to see Bayley go after this stuff with Bianca, if it is a one-time deal? If Sasha shows back up.
Yeah, it's more, Bayley talking about herself and at the expense of the former champions, which, we all saw that coming. Her value is going to be when she's, in the ring, and, she's going to be putting Bianca over, which she should be doing. But after this, she's essentially calling out these champions of the past. So I wouldn't be surprised to see one or two of them pop up at Backlash and set the stage for the next couple of months. I would love to see Lita back in the ring, or Trish Stratus back in the ring. the last time we saw her, she went in there with Charlotte and gave her a great match. So we know she can still do it. Lita, we haven't seen anything from her in a while, but I have no doubt that she could still, get back in the ring as if, she didn't miss a day. So having her in a series of matches with Bayley as well as Trish and, Molly Holly, it would be a lot of fun to watch. And Bayley's at the stage where, she can take those L's and it won't hurt her. Plus, it'd be a great series of matches, and she could give herself more credibility by beating them. So it could go either way, and not like the Heath Slater run where he just loses to all of them. She's good enough to beat them all, and good enough to be able to take the loss and not have it affect her in the long run. So she's in a great position. She's kind of the utility player of the women's division right now. And, I'm sure she's, the talk segments are just to be annoying on purpose, and she's succeeding on that as far as I go. So I don't want to see her talk anymore, but, I'm here for seeing her wrestle.
And who would have thought when Bayley first came to main roster, that was kind of a disaster there at the beginning with the Alexa Bliss promo. She won the title way too soon. Then she lost it. And I mean, to see the evolution of Bayley has been something to watch. Just think about her in NXT, and then, she was so hyped up down there, and then just to see what she's become, I think it's a really good turn. I mean, she pretty much saved her career when she stepped up to the plate and said, I want to be a heel. I mean, that, ain't even cut the hair. I mean, that's all in on like trying to salvage whatever's left. So I'm a big Bayley fan. I'm always going to be a Bayley fan. There's just, like I said, that NXT stuff always sold me on her. Just the love and you could just tell the passion she has for the ring. And, that Austin, the Stone Cold interview, I think she did earlier this year. I mean, you could just tell how much she loves being there and what she wants to do for the division. So we saw not Rey Mysterio defeat Dolph Ziggler. Actually, Dominic stepped in, even though it was touted as Dolph and Rey. Still kind of funny to think because Dominic technically, you could consider him throwback when you consider the Eddie Guerrero story back in the day. So it's kind of interesting to think, Dominic Mysterio gets a match against Dolph Ziggler right now. And we're going to see Rey and Dominic against Dolph and Robert Roode. But people are saying that the next pay-per-view will be on Father's Day. So why not hold off one more month and let the Mysterio family win it on Father's Day? I mean, that's what better. It's like when Curtis Axel won, the IC title on Father's Day. I mean, what better way could you do it? So, I'm going to assume Backlash, they lose, but they find themselves, maybe Street Profits come in and interfere or something like that, or, there's some screwy finish, and then let the Mysterio family win next month on Father's Day. I mean, that's about as storybook as you can get. So any thoughts, Greg, on Dominic and Dolph going at it? Were you okay with Dominic in there? I mean, it just seemed like a bait and switch type deal, honestly.
Yeah, it was not expected, but I could see it. And the match was basic. If he was going to beat Dolph Ziggler, it would be something like a small package for the win. So totally makes sense. And wasn't worried about the pay-per-view after Backlash being on Father's Day. So like you said, the story writes itself. So I'm definitely subscribing to what you're saying. We have a weird finish that lends itself to them getting another shot at it. Maybe Roode and Ziggler get themselves disqualified, or do a cheat that leads to them keeping the belts, but or they cheat, get caught, but keep the titles. And then we have no disqualification for the next month, and they win. So, Father's Day, father son, yeah, you can't. The story writes itself. It doesn't take that much creativity, but it would still be great to see that happen, especially if you can do it, on Father's Day in front of a live crowd.
And that, I guess that's the only thing I don't know. Who knows what they'll do as far as that's concerned. But we did have Tamina defeat Reginald via DQ. Pretty much Nia and Shayna got the better end, which makes me think that they're going to lose in these titles at WrestleMania Backlash. But let's go to the end match because, this was interesting. Baron Corbin, King Corbin, got the win for his team over Shinsuke Nakamura. I had to take a breath because I thought we were on the right path with Shinsuke. He seemed like he was starting to pick up wins here and there, turning face, kind of getting back in the good graces. And then he eats the L. He put out a tweet saying frustrated. He had like his bean face. At this point, I think he needs to do Finn Balor route and just be like, I want to go back to NXT. And, I don't see him leaving WWE, but, going back to NXT, revitalizing himself and then helping down there, getting some, work down there. But I just can't believe we had King Corbin pinning Shinsuke Nakamura in the middle of the ring in this whole 10-person tag match. So, Greg, talk me off the ledge if you can, which I don't think you can.
Yeah, the whole match was just a mess. I mean, it had a couple cool high spots, but to hear a 10-person match, I kind of cover my eyes because I know what's about to happen is about to be a train wreck, and it's not in the good sense. You just throw a handful of rivals in against each other, and we're supposed to, be glued to it. And it was not fun. It was the typical, hot mess of, a group of individuals who have no connection with each other. We're just throwing 3 feuds into one match. And Shinsuke, I feel you, bro. I mean, dude's so much better than what he's being portrayed as. He's been left with scraps as far as, anything to work with. And, he could definitely take revitalization down in NXT. Finn's done great for himself. And, it would be a good thing for Shin to do. Go back and work with those guys and get your swagger back, because right now he has no swag, he has no anything that's even being on a team with the Street Profits. So dude needs something, or maybe ask for his release or something. I don't know what his contract situation is like, but I understand why he says he's frustrated, because I would be too if I had to suffer through a match like that and and pick up the L in the end. Nah, not good. So,
and it felt like this was this feels like a house show, 10-person tag that. And I thought the faces would win because that's usually what happens on the house show. But you had the heels coming out on top. And like we said, King Corbin, which hasn't been built up at all. You had Apollo Crews, you had Sami Zayn in there, who I guess it tries to give King Corbin something, and ultimately, if Shinsuke overcomes him, then maybe you salvage him. But at this rate, Nakamura going back to NXT and just writing off the rest of his career down there and just, surfing away down in Florida with his family, I think that might be the best route for him. But so that was the throwback Smackdown, which, like we said, it was kind of all over the place. And SmackDown's been pretty good. So that's why I'm like, I was really surprised that SmackDown kind of threw that mess together as it was. So, I mean, there was still good. We got Cesaro where he needs to be. We have Jimmy Uso back, but some of those other segments were very interesting as it were. So, let's take a quick commercial break for a little realty talk, get our thoughts together for NXT, and then finish up with some blood and guts.
What is up, everybody? It's your boy Dan over at BWSports1.com and Black and White Sports. And I'm wondering if you're ready to buy or sell that home, now's the time, and I got just the person for you. Mr. Sean Nugent, a.k.a. Rockstar Realtor himself. 317-503-8322. Put that home on the market. Get into your dream home with this man. Talk to Sean at Talk to Tucker today, 317-503-8322, and make sure you tell him the boys over at BWSports1.com sent you.
And we are back. Glad to be back, ready to talk up some NXT. I might just run through some matches and stop to talk about some of the bigger moments that happened. Right away at the beginning, we did have Isaiah Swerve Scott defeat Leon Ruff by pinfall, but he debuted a faction. And I'm kind of digging this faction because it's different guys and that the female wrestler. I couldn't catch her names because I was kind of in and out of the middle of it. But Greg, you got some thoughts on Swerve's Club? I guess we could call it for now. Are you interested and intrigued where this might go?
Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens with it. I thought the match was great. I was hoping that would be the end of the match or end of the night instead of the beginning, because it was a grudge match. And after seeing how the women's match ended, I'm not so against it. But I thought this would have been a great match to finish the night. But great match, and it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Swerve and his new posse. I know he's a legit musician. He's about to have an album drop pretty soon, and playing up on this whole real life story, him being a musician, and I'll drop, I guess, some hip hop or rap album. And these stories get better when they can play off their real lives. They make them more believable, more relatable, and they get a core of people who relate to that and build their fan base. So and I'm surprised until the L, to be honest with you, the way the storyline's played out, and how serious that feud has gotten. And you figure this would be the point where the little guy gets the payback, and he doesn't. So I think this is going to carry on for a little while longer, because I think eventually Ruff's going to do something to, get that loss back. So I'm interested to see how it all plays out with them, because I don't think it's over yet.
Or will he have to go through those, the two male members of the club, Swerve's Club, to kind of get back to the Isaiah Swerve Scott? Because Isaiah could say, "I've already beat you, man. Like you gotta go through my posse now to get to me if you want me again." Something like that. So heck, he might even have the woman, because they're probably about the same size. That female wrestler that he's entrained, because Leon Ruff, is not the biggest guy there on the block. So Cameron Grimes defeated Asher Hale, by pinfall. The big thing here is, what the hell are we going to do with Ted DiBiase and Cameron Grimes? Are we going to get Ted just, wanting to manage Grimes? I'm going out on a limb. Maybe DiBiase Jr. could show back up. I don't know. I doubt it. But hey, that's out there. But I guess ultimately it might just be this whole $1 Million Man becomes a mentor to Cameron Grimes, and we'll see weird segments with them. But Greg, how are you feeling about $1 Million Man being involved with Cameron Grimes right now? And do you see him becoming a mentor or manager figure for Cameron Grimes?
It's funny. The whole thing that they've been doing lately is funny. The bits and the jewelry, and buy a room in the club when you can just buy the club. That was especially hilarious. And I see a mentor role, and maybe more off screen than on screen. But I thought the same thing with DiBiase Jr. maybe popping back up, because we haven't seen him in a while, and who knows what he's doing. He's probably looking for work. So I see that happen. And Yeah, Grind's taking some lessons. Um, I don't know. I don't see where they're going with it quite. So, but I'm still about them doing the backstage segments and then finding a new way to one up Cameron Grimes because Cameron Grimes is new money. He just learned about money, and DiBiase's all about money. So it's uh, it's a rivalry without being a rivalry. So
Hmm.
it's fun to watch and see how they trump each other every week.
And maybe we could get the $1 million belt back on TV. You have, maybe DiBiase's like, hey man, hey kid, I see you're just like me, so here you go. Or giving him the $1 million dream. I would love to see, we don't see a lot of sleeper holds, as finishers anymore. I mean, back in the day, it felt like, everybody was using the sleeper hold as a finisher. So maybe Cameron Grimes can be given the $1 million dream as a new finisher to kind of play that up. So I'm intrigued with it. It's fun. Cameron Grimes is definitely a fun character. I always think, what is the next step? The next on the main roster, is it going to carry over? That I don't know, but we'll got to kind of see where that goes. Ciampa and Timothy Thatcher defeated Grizz and Young Veterans by submission. I'm going to move past that for now. I feel like we're just going to get these guys going at it a lot for the time being until they decide which one they want to go against MSK. But I was intrigued with the Karrion Kross stuff. So we had, let's see, Pete Dunne answer, Kyle O'Reilly answer, Finn Balor answer, and Johnny Gargano answer with Austin Theory, because we're going to get Austin Theory and Karrion Kross next week. So which way would you like to go, Greg, as far as next challenger for Karrion Kross? I personally probably want to revisit Finn Balor right now. I think that makes the most sense, kind of finish that up, and then Finn can go wherever he's going to go next. But what about you? Do you want to see somebody else like Pete Dunne or Cool Kyle or Johnny Gargano, maybe champion versus champion?
Yeah, I think Finn makes most sense. Um, Finish off that feud, and like I said, it does seem like a good spot for Finn to either go back to the main roster, in time for SummerSlam, and maybe reemerge, do that whole thing with the Fiend that I think is going to happen when it goes back, or maybe go over to UK and get that fight with Walter that he's alluded to in the past, and so it sets him free to be able to do bigger things, because I think he's had a great run. He's done great at reestablishing his territory, getting his swagger back, and he's ready to, um, he's pretty much outgrown NXT now. He's back where he needs to be. So uh, let him, put crossover one more time out the door, and then Kross can go with his new carousel of challengers. I think it's too early for Kyle, because Kyle's just coming into his own character. He needs to get some more wins under his belt. Um, Gargano would not make sense, because we're not doing unification, and that's the only thing that makes sense if they have the two go against each other. Um, how you're going to have one title in line and not the other. So I can see it happening in the future, but not yet. Um, so
Unless you did champion versus champion, where you don't have to put the titles on the line. I mean, you can do something like that, because I don't want to revisit the two champion, because we just did that with Keith Lee last summer, and Keith Lee lost both titles like what, a month later. It seemed, it was very soon after, because then they bumped into the main roster. So I could maybe get behind the champion versus champion, because that's not always a title on the line. It's just we're going to see who's better type deal. And especially if you have Austin Theory playing up whatever he is, I think you could pull it off. I mean, Pete Dunne and Karrion Kross could be fun too, just because both guys are so technical. So
right.
It's interesting. So not to cut you off, sorry. I'll let you finish your thought.
No, I'd like to see, Austin Theory is good. So Pete Dunne would be a good thing because I wouldn't expect Pete Dunne to win, but I would expect a great match out of those two. So I think he would be a logical next challenger. He's not going to beat him, but it's going to be a great match. And then we, set up the pins for, bigger matches down the road with Kyle O'Reilly and, Gargano as, late summer rivalries.
Mm-hmm. So Ray defeated Jada Raymer, by pinfall. Pretty much Zoe Stark, Tony Storm is what we're trying to get out of this. And that's the game plan. So let's just get to that. LA Knight defeated Jake Atlas by pinfall. I don't know. I'm kind of up and down on LA Knight right now. I can't get behind him yet. So I got to keep seeing a little more. Like, I know the mic works there and he's in the Car Shield commercial. So that's good for him with Ric Flair. So obviously they believe in him in some part, but yeah, that was just kind of a filler match to me. And then we'll get to Kushida, Santos Escobar in a 2 out of 3 fall match. And then Raquel Gonzalez versus Mercedes Martinez. I think that's going to main event. I think that'll be the last match next week. Mm-hmm. And I almost want to do the Dakota Kai turn there. I know it's early, but man, it feels like it's so in the weeds, but at the same time, I don't know. It's hard for me to because right now I don't know who else is there for Raquel to go after. Maybe Io Shirai steps back up, maybe Frankie Monet, but at the same time, maybe you want Dakota Kai and Raquel on the main roster by SummerSlam. So maybe you just kind of pull off the feud now and Raquel loses it at, TakeOver SummerSlam or whatever. And then they both bump up to the main roster. So, Greg, what are we feeling about Kushida and Escobar in a 2 out of 3 fall? And what are we feeling about Raquel and Mercedes going at it?
Kushida and Escobar is going to be a fantastic match. Those two are very well suited to each other. Highly technical guys. And so I expect a banger of a match between those two. Like I said before, I've loved Kushida's new mean streak since he's come back after being off TV for a long time. And it's led to him, getting a chip and being able to, raise the stock and look more than just another guy. He's been more legit. He's been, I like it when the faces have a bit of that edge to him. Kushida came back with that edge, and he's looked great for it. Escobar is Escobar. He's great in whatever he's doing. So 2 out of 3 falls perfect for them. As far as Raquel goes, I think she's going to retain. I don't think the Dakota's swerve comes yet. She's going to beat Martinez, and then I think that's where it's going to come with Kai after she finishes off Martinez. And then we have our, matchup for the next big thing, whether it's TakeOver or, an accompanying event to what the next big pay-per-view is down the road. But that's the most logical place to put.
Sorry. Or I was going to say maybe like a midsummer because, maybe 4th of July, they do something like, they did the Great American Bash type deal. Or if they do it, maybe they could do another In Your House now that they're kind of using that. They used that last year. I don't know why you couldn't use that as a stopgap between now and SummerSlam because I feel like that's good. If you're going to have live crowds, then what better way, to have a takeover with live crowd there. But, yeah. And, of course, I got to go to the end, Greg. You know me. I've been calling for it. I finally got my wish the way our champions. Like that, it was so needed. It really was. And there was a really nice tweet by Candice LeRae saying, we don't know how much this means to her. Because I kind of wonder if she was starting to fall in that, what am I doing here? That just trying to figure out yourself. And now she gets to really get the title, get to do something fun with it. I feel like it's going to be awesome seeing, maybe they'll do the dinner and they'll all have their titles out. And then, like I said, I think giving a toy belt to Austin Theory is going to be hilarious if they do that route. I hope they do. I think they should. But, maybe some segments like that. But I thought it was a good street fight. I honestly didn't think it would happen because it just felt like felt like Candice never going to get anything. She's always going to be that, we're just going to use you like I like your term of utility player because that's what Candice LeRae was starting to feel like. But we know Candice LeRae is she could do so much more. And helping Indy Hartwell, who I thought was going to be nothing, is really saying something. So I'm glad they got the pinfall. They got the women. They could go somewhere now. Even if it's a short run through the summer, like that could be Candice LeRae's, bow on her chapter in NXT. I feel like whatever they do after that can do something. So I had to speak on that, and then I'm really happy for Candice LeRae. I've watched the Young Bucks against her and Joey Ryan, which is just a ridiculously bloody mess. So Candice LeRae can go in the ring, and just seeing her get into this was really something. So I'm done. Have at it, Greg. You can follow that up.
I'm going to have to find that match because I haven't seen it. But
yes, type in the Young Bucks versus Joey Ryan, Candice LeRae, and it is it's bloodier than the Blood and Guts match was. And Candice took a boot of a spiked boot to the face, like a super kick, a spiked heel to the face in that match. It took some really hard shots. So, and how she's nothing. Like she's what, 150,
right.
100 whatever pounds wet probably. And then, 5'2" or whatever she is. And she held her own in that match. And it was her last match kind of going out of her time on the indie scene. So what better way to go? But sorry, yes, find that match. And I will eventually keep watching Lucha Underground. So we both have our homework assignments to do.
Yeah, I will definitely go watch that match. But yeah, back to the way forgetting the belts. The match was actually better than I thought it would be. Like I said, I thought it was going to be hard to follow up Swerve and Leon Ruff leading the show with their match, and then we're having another match along the same lines. We have to go from a Falls Count Anywhere to a street fight. And so the match ended up being better than I thought it would be. I wasn't really digging Shotzi and Ember as champs anyway, and so it made more sense, even though I'm not high on Indy Blackwell either. But, Candice makes the world go round as far as the women's division goes. And the match ended up being like a really good match. And the right team won for sure. Now, Ember and Shotzi can go to doing their own things. It was a interesting run, but they were better as individual wrestlers than as a team. I never bought them as a tag team. Meanwhile, there's tons of hijinks that the Way can enjoy with this gold. And go ahead and get Austin Theory his own little. Maybe they produce a belt for him, like the fifth man of the year kind of belt. Just it create something for him and give it a irrelevant name, kind of like the Flair taken in the NFL draft, Mr.
Yes.
Irrelevant.
Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, and so he has a belt of some sort. But they'll have fun playing on that. So I'm totally agree with you on that. That it leads itself to a lot more fun on TV.
And we'll get to AEW. So Blood and Guts happened at the end. We'll get to that really, in a few minutes. But some things we saw: Moxley and Kingston defeated Omega and Nakazawa. But we had all the Elite out there, just taking them all out. So I'm just so confused, like which, is the Young Bucks going to go after them? I feel like we're going to get the Good Brothers first. And then we did learn what's next for Omega. Cody Rhodes defeated QT Marshall. The big thing here, Greg, of course, is we're getting Anthony Ogogo and Cody Rhodes probably at Double or Nothing. there at the end of the month, which they're saying they're going to go full bread, full out, full house there. So that's going to be interesting to see which direction they go, because it feels like Cody Rhodes is always putting himself over, but he's going to be a dad soon. So you feel like he's going to write himself off soon. And what better way than, Anthony Ogogo doing that? I know you don't love the punch, but I mean, it's working, I think, but we'll see how that goes. Britt Baker defeated, I forget what her name, Hart. Her last name was Hart. So Britt Baker and Sheeta at Double or Nothing. Like we said, that is all tailor-made for Britt Baker to get her coming up party. Yeah. And like I said, and I feel like the crowd's actually going to love it because they love her. SCU defeated the Varsity Blondes to get our title shot. That's going to happen next week. RIP to SCU. Officially, already Scorpio Sky's out of it. It is going to be the end. Here's where I want to get to, though, this kind of end stuff. Double or Nothing championship match for Omega. We have Pac and Orange Cassidy going at it for a match to determine who's going to go at Omega. And pretty much, I feel like we're going to get, Orange Cassidy winning. And I think that's going to be kind of interesting to see how that goes for Orange Cassidy and Kenny Omega. So, Greg, who do you see winning? Do you see Pac winning, or do you see Orange Cassidy winning?
Well, this is a great example of long-term storytelling right here, because I remember, I've been watching AEW since the beginning, and seeing Orange Cassidy not have any idea who he was and not being familiar with any of his indie work, anything like that. Seeing him, remember, used to show him just sitting ringside, and everybody will pop for him. And, we got the kind of thing, okay, he's kind of like the blonde Fonzie or something. And he worked the, never talking, they call it sloth style, way he moves and, the mannerisms and all the things. And we really didn't see anything from him until he had that first match with Pac. And I remember watching it and wondering, okay, what's going to happen with this guy? And that match was a fantastic match. That was I'd say probably one of the top 3 matches I've ever seen since the inception of AEW, was him and Pac. And that first match was amazing. So I bought in on Cassidy from that match on, because he can really go with his hands in his pockets. So, Pac won that match, and now it's come full circle to where this is, Orange's chances to, 1, avenge DL, and 2, get a championship match. So, it's a great, going into the second year of AEW. It's a 2-year arc that we're taking right here with these two. And I can definitely see Orange getting the win, especially in promo with Kenny, kind of laughing off Pac and laughing off Orange Cassidy and selling him against Pac in a match that, Pac's made me tap, gave me an L, building them up, putting them over. And then Orange kind of looking at Orange, looking over down his nose at him and just kind of blowing him off. And Orange is standing there. So, what's the point coming out if you're just going to stand there? But that's his thing. That's what he does. And it makes us want it more. So I think that Orange ends up winning, and we get a amazing. I wouldn't do it this soon, but I'm still here to see it. So it's going to be a great match between Orange and Kenny if it comes to that. But I think that's the way they're leaning.
And I mean, and it's going to be interesting to see what the placement will be for Orange Cassidy and Kenny Omega. Like, is there a bigger match that we could throw at the main event? Because, AEW's been pretty good about putting the title on last, but I don't know if that is the big money match right now for Double or Nothing. So I'm going to be interested to see, especially if we have a full crowd there, like 5,000, I think they're thinking for that Daly's place, which is about what it seats. So, I'm going to be really to see that. Miro and Darby Allin will go out at next week. We haven't seen Kip Sabian at all, so I'm curious to see if Kip Sabian shows up at the end. Does Miro pick up the win? I don't think so. But I feel like you almost need to do some sort of screwy finish so Miro can keep what he's doing. Now that he's trying to do on his own and be this monster heel that we all thought he should be. Or does Kip Sabian get involved? Or does Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky get involved? So, Greg, what do you think about Miro and Darby Allin? I believe it's next week as well. So,
yeah. Well, I remember last time we saw Kip Sabian, Miro was slamming his arm in the door, and he was telling that he's maybe had a broken wrist or something like that. So I could definitely see him pop up during the match to somehow cost Miro or cause a DQ. And so he's going to be the wild card in the match. Miro, like I said, they're building us the monster heel, so I think he's going to. It's hard to put him over.
I don't know how you could salvage him in this match. Like, I feel like Darby's probably going to win, but like you said, I think if you have Kip interfere to cost him the match, that still keeps Miro a little on that level, but you almost need to do something to help Miro. Like, Miro just can't lose if that, like straight up. That would completely destroy what he's trying to build now. So they've kind of booked themselves into a corner, I think, a little bit with it. Because I don't like you said, I think it's too soon for Miro to be in this type of match. Now, is Darby Allin? Darby Allin eats a lot of stuff. So, but yeah, I'll be interested to really see what is the ending for this. So, and then finally,
more believable that Ethan and the Scorpio caused Darby to lose.
Yes.
And that puts Miro over.
Yeah. We'll just get right to it. Blood and guts happened at the end. I thought there was some downtime in it that really hurt it. Commercial breaks kind of hurt it too, because yes, it's picture in picture, but if you don't have the commentary, you don't have the sound, you're just watching. I don't know if you saw, but I feel bad. People that night, apparently all the matches were taped before the Blood and Guts, so they just had to watch the matches on the screen before this happened. So this was live, but everything else was taped beforehand. So that's kind of a crappy way to sit there, for an hour, almost an hour of matches on TV, But anyway, so yes, people talked about the ending spot. I mean, what do they expect? Like, they want Jericho to go through like legit wood. Like, it is what it is. Like, could you have had a different camera angle? Of course, but it's the idea that Sammy Guevara technically surrendered for his team. And even though he started the match, which we all said he should have, and I thought he looked really good. I thought Shawn Spears looked okay. I don't think Shawn Spears looked any better, though, than what he could have been. Wardlow looked good. I don't think Hager really played a part, though, which is kind of interesting. It felt like Hager was just kind of there. And even FTR had their moments. And it's almost like but everything was kind of built for Jericho and MJF. And that's what, and that's what the thing was. I think the end, it was just the guy standing around, like looking up at Jericho and MJF. That's where it kind of like tapered off for me. Like, okay, what are you going to do? Like, make somebody, tap him out or throw him off. And then, you have Guevara say, no, wait, as he's throwing him off or something like that. We knew we knew some big moment was going to happen. And maybe it should have happened in the match instead of after. How are you feeling overall about Blood and Guts? I don't think it compares to War Games. I still think NXT did better with War Games personally, because it felt like the action really just kept going, with weapons involved, with stuff. I do think they did a good job of not using, like, yes, they used a chair. They did use some moments with with the fencing, but it felt like it was missing a little more violence. I hate saying that, but it did feel like it was missing something.
Yeah, I loved the match. I thought it was a great match up until the end spot, of course. Um, and yeah, definitely not as good as War Games are. Um, but the way started to. First of all, I noticed the thing with when they were coming out and they walked around the cage instead of coming down to the and not walking through the cardboard as we found out it was.
Mhm.
Um, I was that was the first thing that spoke out to me. But um, the way they built it is, gang on gang warfare. They're coming out in the jumpsuits, from the prisons of, where they're from. Was a nice touch. Um, Plenty of blood, barbed wire, chairs, bats, and things like that. So I was good with the amount of physicality in there. Um, and great match. Of course, figure it's going to come down to Jericho and MJF doing something to each other. And it was the right finish with, Team MJF winning. But uh, no, I kind of see what you're saying. But it could have been more brutal because that's what War Games is supposed to be. But this is AEW's version. They don't want to copy, what War Games has been doing, and kind of chart their own path with it. Um, I still don't like them stealing the whole War Games thing, let them invent their own thing. Kind of like they did with Mimosa Mayhem. You don't see that anywhere else. Um, but still, loved the match. Thought it was a great match. The face offs they had during the match, some of the spots that some of them had, um, the whole Willow and Hager, even though we didn't see Hager most of the match. And I thought about that a couple of times. Like there's a couple of times we didn't even see where he was on the screen,
Mhm.
aside from when he entered and started bulldozing people, or when he and Wardlow went head to head. So that kind of didn't make sense to me, but um, still a good match. And until the cardboard bump, I would have put it up there as one of those, great matches. But that ending did kind of take some steam off of it for me. I don't know about you.
I I don't. I figured it was. I think it had to happen. That's the thing. Like you're up there on the cage, like you got to do something. Making him tap would have been a good finish. I think
Mm-hmm.
Sammy. Now I'm only worried. I hope they don't go the route of breaking up the inner circle because Sammy cost them the match. Essentially, like, do we think they'll go that route?
No, I don't think that'll happen.
Yeah.
They'll understand and they'll rally around Sammy for that. I was watching it and seeing that the way the cage was structured, that you had the metal part around the outside and then the more meshy area in the middle. So I thought they were going to do like a Triple H Cactus Jack bump where he goes through the
Yes.
cage and crashes into the ring. That's where I thought that was going. That maybe that they were gonna give way, and maybe he catches up himself over the ropes or something like that and bounces in, or um, guys are down there to break his fall. Is what it looked like to me that was going to happen, and would have made more sense if you ask me. But um, as soon as they start crawling up there, I thought they were going to try to recreate Undertaker and Mankind um, through the table. But there's no announce desk around there, so what else are you going to use? And then seeing them over um, the rampway, you can tell the ramp is higher than the rest of the ground. So
Mhm.
as soon as you saw that, oh, okay, now we see it. And then just the sound he made when he went through, you could tell, okay, it's cardboard or styrofoam, whatever's down there. And the tweet I saw from Shannon Baszler kind of made sense. Is that we're not actually rooting for the dragon and got to barbecue a village, but
Yes.
if the special effects suck, we're going to call them out for it. And so that's kind of what we got here. We don't want to see Jericho die, but if they do it and it looks horrible, then we're going to call him out for it. And that's what we got there.
Well, and I think people were more about it because of what happened in the exploding match where that explosion was nothing. And if they could have built that up to say, well, we just tricked Jon Moxley, but I don't feel like they ever fully took that route, which they should have after the fact. So now you got to think, well, how are you going to play this up? Because they're going to have to do something with it, because of the outrage on it. And I thought back to Armageddon, what was it, 99 or 2000, where the Rikishi took the fall into the truck of hay, and we could see it. I mean, he bounced like that, so it's not like he fell into a flatbed of truck. I mean, there was a lot of hay there, or there was some sort of. So it's like we know these guys, have to take some fall, and it's not like Rikishi's a small guy. I mean, that had to affect him. But I think if you could have done a different camera angle, people wouldn't have been as tough. But the camera was like right there, like on him, as you heard the like you said, the styrofoam cracking. Like you could hear the whatever it was, like crash pad. But if they had maybe if you had a cameraman up there with MJF, then you don't hear that sound. You think, oh well, he really landed. And then I was wondering about you, like you said, that one part of the top of the cell was different. So I'm surprised they didn't do something with that, unless they just want a little more bounce there since they were right there in the middle. But it was weird that part was different looking, and it even looked like more meshier, but and they didn't really do much with it. So I think it did what it needed to do, now they learned from it. If they want to do it again down the road, well, now they know, well, we'll probably have to shoot that differently or, do a different angle for it. So, I think it served its purpose. I kind of hated that the commentary was like, I think it was Excalibur was like, oh, well, JR, you and Tony were at the first Blood and Guts match. Technically you're touting this as the first one, I thought, but then you're revisiting the War Games history. And I just kind of thought that, if you want to build this up as your own unique match, well, then you don't have commentary saying, well, you were at the first match. And I thought that kind of was like, it's something small, but it's just there, but it's still like, well, if this is supposed to be the first type style of this match, then you can't have commentary say, well, we were at the first one back in 89 or 88, whatever it was. So, all right, it might have been even earlier now that I think about it. So it is what it is. Now they learn from the mistake, build up next week, build up Double or Nothing, and get the momentum back, from where they go. So, and especially like we said, if you have a full crowd there at Bayley's place and you give a good, outing there, then this is all kind of forgotten, even with it being the same month. So that's all I got. Thank you, Greg, for joining me on another episode of Superkickin with Steven. Give you a little outro, and then we'll call it a day. So thank you for joining us, and talk to you guys next week.